Have you heard the saying, straight from the horse's mouth? It means obtaining information directly from the most reliable source or person with first-hand knowledge. But horses don't talk. Or do they? What if I told you that once there lived a horse that could count, spell, identify colors and solve math problems, all with a simple tap of his hoof? Are you thinking what happened to me after making so many scientific videos? You may think I'm bluffing, right? Hold on to your horses. I'm telling the truth. I am about to tell you about the story of Clever Hans, the mathematical horse. He was a horse of a different color. This video also looks into the seemingly impossible animal intelligence and also look into some aspects of human psychology. So once upon a time in Germany, there was a horse named Hans. Legend has it that he could do math, tell time, and probably even solve a Rubik's Cube with his hooves if he had the chance. So he was called Clever Hans. He belonged to a man named Wilhelm von Osten, who was a mathematician and amateur horse trainer. Van Osten was very much interested in animal intelligence and thought that this subject was not studied in great detail. So he tried to train 3 animals, a cat, a bear, and his horse Hans. The first 2 flunked in all of von Osten's attempts, but the horse Hans passed with flying colors. Apparently, Osten had taught Hans to add, subtract, multiply, divide, tell time, count the number of people in the audience, keep track of the calendar, recognize and identify playing cards, read number cards, and read, spell, and understand German. So, if his master asked the horse, what is 2 plus 2 equal to? The horse would tap 4 times on the ground. If von Osten would ask Hans, if today is the 8th of January and it is a Tuesday, what would be the date this Friday? Hans would answer by tapping his hoof 11 times. Clever, isn't it? This was in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and the world was already fascinated by the discovery of evolution by Charles Darwin, and people were getting interested in understanding animal intelligence. So Hans got national and international fame, and a report of his abilities were published in New York Times in 1904. Von Osten started taking Hans around Germany to showcase his abilities. Clever Hans was hailed as the first and most famous thinking animal. Although Hans wasn't always right and occasionally made mistakes, but that did not stop Hans from drawing huge crowds whenever he was taken around. But there were people who were skeptical of the horse's ability and thought that there was some fraud or trickery involved in the whole show. So much was the public interest that the German government appointed a 13-man commission to investigate the claims made by von Osten. The commission was called the Hans Commission. Von Osten was ready for this test as he was sure he wasn't cheating in any way. The commission investigated Hans' abilities and could not spot any sort of trickery involved. Hans was actually clever and could do all the things that he was claimed to do. Still skeptical, they engaged a psychologist named Oskar Pfungst to test the horse again. Now Pfungst was more scientific than the others. He suspected that the horse was receiving some signals from somewhere, so he devised some ways to ascertain the claims. First, he isolated the horse and the questioner away from the spectators. Next, he got other people to ask the questions instead of the master. Thirdly, he used blinders on the horse so that the horse cannot see the questioner. Finally, he verified if the questioner knew the answer to the question that was being asked. He found out that Hans was able to answer even if the questions were asked by someone else. This proved that there was no trickery involved in the affair. But he also found out that the horse knew the answer only when the questioner knew the answer and the horse could see the questioner. He observed that when Hans could see the questioner, the horse got around 90% of the answers correct. But when Hans was not able to see the questioner, the horse answered only 6% of the questions correctly. The same happened when von Osten was standing far away from the horse. Pfungst was now closer to the answer. Pfungst carefully looked at how the person asking the questions behaved. He discovered that when the horse was getting closer to the correct answer, the questioner's body language and facial expressions changed. These changes showed increased tension, and when the horse finally tapped the right answer, that tension was released. He also observed that the spectators also displayed the same kind of emotion as soon as the horse reached the right answer. In fact, Pfungst discovered that he couldn't stop giving unintentional signals to the horse even when he tried. The horse picked up on this cue, signaling it to stop tapping. So Pfungst found out that Clever Hans isn't a math prodigy. Instead, he's a master of body language reading. You could call him Sherlock Horse if you want. This kind of ability is often displayed by animals in circuses where they are trained to catch certain cues from their masters. But was von Osten trying to cheat? No, he was doing this unconsciously. He himself did not realize that he was prompting the horse. Now Pfungst did not stop here. He tried the same test with human subjects where he played the role of Hans. Pfungst told people to stand on his right and focus really hard on a specific number or simple math problem. Then, using his right hand, Pfungst tapped out the answer. He noticed that when he reached the final tap, there was often a quick upward movement of the person's head, and Pfungst would stop tapping. This was what Clever Hans was doing as well. In reality, the horse wasn't doing math. He was watching the cues from his master to tell when to stop tapping. These cues were microscopic and done unconsciously, but Hans was clever enough to catch it. Today, this phenomenon is given the name Clever Hans effect. Even today, during all studies of animal behavior, any face-to-face contact between the examiner and the experimental animal is strictly avoided to prevent these cues from influencing the results. So how does this manifest in humans? Let us assume that we are playing a game where I hold a tiny ball in one of my hands and shuffle the ball so that you cannot see which hand it is in. Then I ask you to guess which hand the ball is in. But while I do that, I unconsciously look at the hand which is holding the ball. If you read my body language well, you could pick up which hand the ball is in. The same happens when you visit astrologers and psychics. They use a technique called cold reading to pick body language clues which you are unconsciously projecting to them. You don't realize it yourself, but a person trained to catch these can pick it up and use it to their advantage. I mean, if a horse could do it, then these asses can do it without a problem. Also, unconscious cues introduce a form of bias into experiments, leading subjects to give answers that seem right to the researchers. That is why most scientific studies are blinded. For example, a randomized double-blinded clinical trial. In a blind drug trial of new drug, for instance, one group of participants receives the drug while the second group receives a placebo. Participants do not know which group they are in. Still, the doctor administering the drug may give some subtle, unconscious cue about which drug the patient is getting. Perhaps they check the reactions of participants in the active group just a little more carefully, or leave some unconscious cue in some way. So the doctor is also blinded. Well, not literally, but the doctor is also not aware whether they are giving the patient a real medicine or placebo, and thereby preventing them from sending unconscious cues. Clever Hans effect in use in human psychology. Cool, isn't it? While Hans could not do math or tell you the time without getting cues from his master, it is incredible that he was still able to read those cues and act accordingly. That itself is a remarkable ability for a horse. The Clever Hans phenomenon teaches us to be a bit skeptical and not believe everything we see, even if it is as entertaining as a horse doing algebra. I tried to teach my cat how to count, and this was my result. Lazy bug. He knows only quantum physics, that one. We have now understood that animals have incredible abilities that we didn't know existed before, and some of them have this amazing ability to bond with humans and understand their emotions. But unfortunately, they still cannot do math. Have you any experience with an intelligent animal? Please let me know in the comments below. I hope you found this information new and useful. Please do like, comment, share and subscribe for more scientific and rational content. You can contribute via Super Thanks and by becoming a member, which could help support this channel and get you more visually brilliant content. I shall soon see you in another video. Until then, hold on to your horses.